This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Everybody, we are kicking off hour 2 Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. SiriusXM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, wherever you're watching or listening. Thanks for hanging out with us. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Reminder as well, if you miss any of the program any day, you can always find us in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. We upload each hour of the show immediately following, so you can watch and listen on your own time, whether it's on demand or through the Apple or Spotify podcast, wherever you get your stuff. Coming up in about 30 minutes, we'll have VSiN's own Jensen Lewis join the program. Going to talk through some of his best bets of the day. Also a little Major League Baseball discussion. He and Adam Burke did such a great job on the MLB betting guide, breaking down team after team. I know we talked a little Giants with him last week, but that is our team of the day, so maybe we can bug him again.
Yeah, we'll find out from him what exactly his thoughts are on the team. We talked a little bit about the manager situation, but not exactly win total or maybe Logan Webb when it comes to Cy Young and whatnot. You can tweet us as well, at me, JVT, at Stormy Buonantony. Brian checked in because I was guessing as to what body part I am of the Vegas Stats and Information Network. I don't think I'm arrogant enough to assume that I am the backbone of VSiN, but he
said anywhere between backbone and what?
The distal phalanx, which is, I believe, the tip of the tip of your finger. So
what, James Harden injured?
Yes. So each of your fingers has a distal phalanx. It's the tip of the finger every time. So
well, if it's
that seems like a very useless bone, by the way.
If it's on your offhand, like James Harden, not as important. If it's on your writing hand, your typing hand, your throwing hand, then all of a sudden it's much more important. So
you ever
depends on which way you want to put it.
You ever broken your hand?
I've never broken a bone, actually.
I had a fracture in my hand playing rock, paper, scissors, slap.
Stop it right now.
School,
no.
Yeah.
How did this not come up when we were talking about embarrassing injuries the other day?
I mean, that's not embarrassing. It's a manly thing.
It's a little embarrassing.
No way. We were playing rock, paper, scissors, slap. We play hardcore back in the day, man.
What in the world?
You never played rock, paper, scissors, slap?
Can't say that I have. No.
It's a great. That, like Bloody Knuckles, all those sort of things, never?
Also, no. Bloody Knuckles, yeah, like quarters.
You do that too. Bloody Knuckles for me was you just punched each other in the knuckles until one of you,
My big thing was with rock, paper, scissors. I went through a phase where I called it paper, rock, scissors for a long time, and people got very upset with me for it.
Yeah. It's pretty embarrassing.
I didn't realize it had to be so specific. Maybe it was, and I can't even say maybe it's where I grew up because you grew up here too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not a freak.
We will also have our best bets at the end of the hour today, as usual. We'll break down the NHL card, 12 games coming up, day 2 back from the Olympic break. I have far too many bets, which is actually, I don't know how I feel about that, with us being so fresh from the break that there were so many things that I liked on the card today. So we'll see how that plays out. I do want to get things kicked off here in hour 2, though, breaking down some NFL. There are a lot of headlines that have been coming out of Indy in the Combine. So let's find out if these items are front page news or back page news.
Let's see which stories make the lines move and which stories deserve to be tossed out in front page news or back page news.
So I think this first one is pretty natural to discuss because we are out here in Vegas. A big topic of conversation for weeks now has been the Max Crosby situation and what's going to happen with him here in Vegas. We see a report from Florio and others yesterday. The Raiders want 2 first-round picks and a player for Max Crosby if they move on from him. That is what the Cowboys got for Micah Parsons back in August. Kenny Clark was that player involved. Front page news or back page news, we got a stout asking price for Crosby.
I mean, I guess it's front page news. I expect that he's probably going to get moved. I would make it a small favorite. This coincides, by the way, with the I guess kind of small but somewhat big bit of news that the Raiders and Clint Kubiak did say that they were going to shift to a 3-4 defense. Now, reading and talking to people out there in Indianapolis during the Combine, it's going to be a little bit of a hybrid, so it's not going to be a pure 3-4. But what that means for Crosby is he's not going to have his hand in the dirt and playing a traditional edge position. He'll be standing up a little bit more and playing an outside linebacker role. He'll probably have the same responsibilities, but it is a little bit of a change in an offseason in which his fate is unknown at this point right now. So I would expect that it's a small favorite. He goes just from reading the tea leaves. I know betting markets and whatnot, prediction markets don't expect that to be the case. I'm looking at it right now. It's 60% that he stays with the Raiders or retires. I would move that a little bit down if I was in control of it, or just bet the fact that he would indeed go somewhere else.
Well, wasn't that the quote from Jason La Canfora about an unnamed general manager that Crosby said that he'll retire before he ever plays for him again?
Just
so maybe that's a part of it. That said, we've talked about it a lot. The Jay Glazer stuff that came out around Super Bowl, that's from Crosby.
Of course it is.
You know what I'm saying? So
yes, I know what you're saying.
it's just it's an interesting thing. Meanwhile, we did see Raiders general manager John Spytek asked earlier this week if he expects Crosby in a Raiders uniform, to which he did say yes, and quote, "It's hard to build a great team without elite players," and talking about what a great relationship he has with Max.
Follow up that quote though. Did you see the one in which a little bit later in which he said, "We're listening to everything."
It's just
they said nothing. Like this, there's this thought of there was reports. It was like Crosby staying, and it's no, he's not. There's nothing official yet. He could absolutely get dealt here in the next few months. The other interesting part about him getting dealt, though, that we should probably obviously talk about here, and this was brought up. I was talking to Adam Hill of the Las Vegas Review-Journal about this yesterday. He does have this meniscus injury. Mm-hmm. So he is not, if you trade for him before the draft or during this time during the recovery, he is not going to pass a physical. So what does that mean if the Raiders want to trade him or if he demands a trade? That obviously waters down the price a little bit for Crosby. So going back to the original premise here, 2 first-round picks and a player, do you actually get that when you know he's going to fail the physical and he's coming off of a knee injury the way that he is?
Yeah. Raiders win total, by the way, going into 2026, 5.5. Let's go to another team with a low win total, the Cleveland Browns. Their new head coach, Todd Monken, said Wednesday he's interested in seeing whether Deshaun Watson can get back to his old self. Here's the quote. "I think anytime you have a player that at one time exhibited the skill set at an elite level, you're always going to give him the benefit of the doubt that somehow we might be able to get that out of him again," adding he's going to let it play out. Front page news or back page news, there's intrigue with Watson to actually play.
Well, you definitely don't want him to get back to his old self. I'll tell you that right now. But I will say that, look, you have
talking about taking the low-hanging fruit, my lord.
You have no options here, really, if you're the Cleveland Browns. If I'm not the backbone of VSiN, I mean, this dude's definitely a distal phalanx or whatever you want to call it for the Cleveland Browns. But look, you're in desperation mode. You have no idea what you're going to be. We can talk about Shedeur Sanders, the Pro Bowl quarterback, but at the end of the day, we know exactly how it works.
When Monken did get hired and Shedeur came into the office to say, "Hey, man," because he's coming from the Ravens, obviously, "we tried to draft you.
Yep.
We tried." So maybe there is something. He's under contract. Obviously, Dylan Gabriel's under contract. With Deshaun Watson, I mean, he's been with the Browns for 4 years, hasn't done anything. We haven't seen him play high-level football since 2020.
Correct.
And all of a sudden, we can be the ones that fix him?
No, I don't think it's we can. It's how do I put this? It's do you go grocery shopping a lot?
Yes.
Okay, so you obviously have those days where you haven't gone grocery shopping for a while and you go home and you're hungry and you're like, I guess I'll just eat these, crispy onion strips that are supposed to go on top of the salad because I've just got nothing left. He's the crispy onion strips. You've just got nothing left at this point, and you can't really go shopping right now. So, of course, you're going to sit there and say, yeah, I'll give him the shot. So I don't think you're, to keep this going, looking at those and going, I'm going to make a meal out of this. It's more of, well, I got nothing until I go to the grocery store, so I might as well just eat these right now. And I think that's exactly what's happening here. And I agree with it. I mean, you got to see what you have, right? You have no idea what this dude is going to provide to you.
You don't?
I mean, not really.
I think you do, actually. When healthy, it's like the best game that Deshaun Watson has played in a Browns uniform was that game against the Ravens where you thought it was, and I'll say a half of football against the Ravens, where you thought, okay, maybe he can turn this around. And then he got hurt.
Right.
Again. So 2021 didn't play the whole season, missed the first 10 games of the following season with the suspension. 2023 didn't start well, started to turn around, got hurt. 2024, torn Achilles, rehabbed it, and got hurt again. Mm-hmm. We have not seen him play good football when healthy, and now he's coming off another injury. It's
sure.
It seems like a nightmare situation. I get it's a lesser of, but is it a lesser of three evils? I don't think so.
I just don't think you're in a spot where you can do anything, so you just have to see what you have here, especially with what you've invested.
From a betting standpoint, 6.5 wins, their win total, juice to the under, -125. They're 13-1 to have the fewest wins in the NFL this season, -650 to miss the playoffs. In the division, long shot at 13-1. Anything interest you?
Can I borrow $650?
Lay that on the miss race. There we go.
The playoffs.
Let's go out to my neck of the woods with the San Francisco 49ers, where GM John Lynch said the NFL has assured them they'll, quote, ease the burden of the travel on the back end of their 2026 schedule. Front page news or back page news?
I assume that means staying over on the East Coast doing these sort of things. That, I mean, how can you say that, though, if you're going to ease the burden of the travel when you don't know the order of the travel, unless he does? Because we don't have the schedule,
I'm
correct?
saying John Lynch doesn't know it, but I'm saying it sounds like somebody from the NFL said, hey, listen, we understand you're going to set a record for miles traveled this year. We're going to try to make this as easy as possible for you. So, yeah, maybe those road trips are back-to-back and they stay out on the East Coast for when they do have to play, what is it, the Falcons and the Giants?
Yeah. I would assume that that's probably what we're talking about here.
At least there's something.
I mean, it's going to be a big talking point.
More than 38,000 miles flown.
Yeah. And one international game, right? Or two?
Two. They have Australia to start the season against the Rams and Mexico City as well. And then, like I mentioned, the 2 East Coast road trips that they have built in, all whilst playing in the toughest division in football.
And whilst dealing with the electrical substation that's right next to it.
Oh, yeah, it's tough.
I mean, it's a lot of wear and tear, travel and,
60 seconds.
Subsonic waves that are eating away
Front page news or back page news? Arvell Reese will be doing both edge and linebacker drills at the Combine. Because we were talking about the whole, what will he be?
I think it's front page news. I mean, he's considered to be the most talented player, so I think he's probably going to try to show his diversity here to get drafted. Was this real? Did you see his quote about New York? This can't be real.
Yeah,
correct?
I did see that. I thought it was.
Okay. Again, I question everything, but his quote about, I just don't play well in New York for some reason.
Yeah.
You don't think it was real?
That's not the quote. That's not the quote I was thinking of.
Oh,
but
okay.
Justin says that's not real.
Okay, never mind. See, that's why I preface it. I hope it was real.
No, the quote I was referencing, he was talking about like the meetings that he started, and he had a good meeting with the Jets.
I hope he
Who do
wasn't
pick
too good.
Number 2, obviously, in this year's NFL draft, the Raiders have the first overall pick. Fernando Mendoza, more than minus 20,000 to be the number 1 selection. Reese, minus 115 to be the number 2 overall, which has come down because wasn't it a little bit higher when we brought this up when the market initially dropped? Maybe people thought that quote was real.
Ooh, big news, too. Front page, back page. Ruben Bain has little arms. under 31 and a half, under 31 inches. Not good.
Didn't he say nobody's brought that up with him, though? Nobody's cared.
I have a stat for you on that, too.
Bing bong. On that note, we're going to step aside when we come back. Our guy Jensen Lewis is going to join the program, but I am very curious what that stat or measurement is. We'll be right back.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, we're back at it here on Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Did you find the stat?
I did. So I mentioned that Ruben Bain officially came in with 30 7/8 inches in terms of arm length. I am mocking, of course, and saying facetiously that he's got little arms. But according to some, this would be Marcus Mosher, who covers the Cowboys and does some draft work as well for Fansided, officially sub 31-inch arms for Ruben Bain. We have never had an edge rusher drafted inside the top 100 selections with sub 31-inch arms.
Who knew? Fascinating. I keep seeing all of the pictures online, though, of like it being photoshopped with his tiny arms. Yeah. I wonder if that's as important in baseball as we shift to a little MLB conversation. Excited to have our good buddy Jensen Lewis join us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Obviously, former MLB pitcher, holds down the fort with our boy Dave Ross every weekday morning on VSiN By The Books. Is arm length something that is an impact for y'all?
Guys, you'll hear a buzz term, extension, how close you release the baseball to home plate and the perceived velocity versus the actual velocity. So the rule of thumb is that obviously the more extension you have, the greater opportunity to create swing and miss and have that ball carry towards home plate. So short arm, hey, we take everybody in baseball. No size. We take anyone that's athletic enough to get out there.
Do you measure from tip of the finger to shoulder, how is extension measured?
Yeah, so JVT, when you release the ball at the end of the mound. So, for instance, Aroldis Chapman, one of the great pitchers that has one of the max extension lengths and shortening that distance to the plate. So, for instance, let's say you release it at 100 miles an hour at the time of release, that perceived velocity could be much higher when it gets to home plate, obviously with friction and everything else that happens as everything pushes against that ball headed to home plate with gravity. That is always something you look for. Draft-wise, guys, you bring it up for the combine. It is very, very much alive now in baseball with so many analytics looking at guys with that are born with it, the potential to develop that throughout. So if you have the DNA for it, more than likely, a lot of clubs will take a chance on you knowing that they'll be able to use some of that upper velocity as you mature.
So, Jensen, I know you're going to be a little bit biased in this because you are a former pitcher, but from a handicapping standpoint, as you get set for the season, you're going through, what's more important for you when you're betting teams? Is it a pitching staff and the bullpen? Is it the lineup? What stands out to you most? And are there maybe some futures bets you've already placed based on that?
No futures in pocket for me, Stormy, but you bring up a great point, and overall the portfolio really gets filtered out in a couple of areas. Number one, starting rotations and the depth of those rotations. You'll be able to eliminate pretty much half the field in that spot. So I'm looking for 3 bona fide starters. Essentially you look towards October. If you get into a 5-game series, will you be able to not have to bring back your ace on short rest? Could you get to a 4-starter? Things of that ilk. We know that you got to hit the ball at the ballpark, and obviously you look at the Milwaukee Brewers last year. They won the most regular season games. They were bottom 3rd in baseball in home runs. Where did that come up big? The National League Championship Series, where they got swept by the Dodgers, who are one of the best teams at hitting home runs. So that's something I look at. Pitching staffs overall, Stormy, if you're in that top half of swing and miss percentage, and it can kind of flow between your rotation, more so in the back end of the bullpen, you're looking for 10, 11, 0.0 and higher strikeout per 9 rates. You're just trying to limit the amount of balls in play. So logic would tell you limit the amount of times the defense has to make a play. You're obviously going to create a lot more success. So I would marry teams that have great frontline starting pitching, and you would also look at teams that we would assume could go 5, 6 hitters deep. 7, 8, 9, not as critical at this point in the year. But on paper, if you're making futures preseason, those are the criteria for me.
All right, well, then let's natural jumping off point. Did the San Francisco Giants fit that criteria? I would think on paper they do. I mean, they've added to the lineup. We know how solid the rotation has been. I was making the case for them to go over their win total this year, and I feel like that sounds like something you're going in that direction, at least with the analysis.
100%. And JVT, I think they've got a great chance to be in the upper 80s, maybe even to that 90-win threshold, because they do play in a very nice pitcher's park there. They have a top end of Logan Webb, who I think will finish top 3 in the Cy Young voting this year. I think he's got a great chance to finally punch through. And knowing that you're going to have a fair amount of starters that might be held back outside of Paul Skeens, going to be hard to ask Christopher Sanchez to duplicate what he did just last year. It was a remarkable campaign in his own right. I think Logan Webb very much alive at a very nice number. If you can find him in the teens still and maybe in the upper teens, that's great. I do like Robbie Ray. I do like Tyler Mahle. Health is always something we look at. I think Adrian Hauser is an under-the-radar guy, and a big add will be a ballpark upgrade from him coming over from not only Chicago but Tampa Bay. And then the back end of their bullpen it's not going to get the run statistically that you would look for, but do they have an opportunity to generate some more swing and miss there this year? I think they do. Ultimately, it was getting Rafi Devers, what we call them the aircraft carriers, those hitters that can put in an offense on their back and be able to carry it. You can make the argument that not only Devers, but Willy Adames, a guy that I think has really now elevated himself into the upper echelon of power-hitting middle infielders. So I think this is a much deeper lineup than people realize. I think Bryce Eldridge is going to be awesome for them, whether it's DH, first base, however they intertwine. Devers getting some time off his feet. And then they've got one of the best backstops in Patrick Bailey. He himself will be able to create a lot more strikes. Even with ABS here, guys, I think San Francisco is really, really live, not only to make the playoffs, but to really cause some havoc.
We're going to have the good fortune every Thursday throughout the course of the MLB season to have Jensen on with us, breaking things down each and every day. But, of course, you can catch him on VSiN By The Books, 7 to 10 Eastern every weekday morning as well. Before we move on to some of your bets for today, I did want to ask, what can you tell people about the VSiN MLB draft that's going to be coming up next week?
Yeah, excited to get a couple of my former colleagues on the baseball side, the playing side. Steve Phillips, a guy that I used to work with a lot on the radio side for LMB Network Radio. He and I involved in a Sirius XM Dynasty League ourselves. Already have a couple of trades that we've gone through. But, looking through just how much more difficult, guys, when we went through our NFL futures, there's some that are pretty cut and dry. The marathon of the baseball season, it can be really, really big crapshoot from the start, and a lot of things can transpire. So very excited next Tuesday afternoon to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, should be a blast. Also, it should be a blast. Day 2 of the NHL being back on the ice from the Olympic break. And I know there are a couple of plays today you like, including this Columbus Blue Jackets team that got hot after moving on from Dean Evison. Rick Bowness has been really, really solid for this Blue Jackets team since taking over. What do you think about them tonight against the Boston Bruins on the road?
I love it. And Stormy, that's the one team there's probably a couple of teams that did not want the Olympic break to happen. And the old dead coach bounce, and then also having this team just now really playing, I think, much more carefree than where they were. It doesn't look like a stressed unit. They really attack in the zone. Obviously, one of the great Team USA members, Zach Werenski, helping anchor their defense. But this just feels like a club that's just going to go for it and really put the pressure on a Boston Bruins team that, as we know, is going to have a handful of those guys coming back, and we'll see where the fatigue factor is there. So I do like the Jackets, minus 105. I got them at one other team, Stormy. I know you and I were very high on at the beginning of the year. We've got a great number on the futures market with the Minnesota Wild. Back-to-back here for the Avs. Tried to go against the Avalanche last night. It did not turn out well. Hopefully tonight, perhaps a little bit of a different outcome. I didn't think the Wild would be this live, but we talked about it before coming on. We didn't expect Quinn Hughes to be a member of the Wild either. So what a boost for them. And that Western Conference, boy, it is extremely top-heavy with the quality of clubs there.
There's no shot that you gave out some college basketball plays on By the Books this morning, did you?
Yeah, we did. We tried a couple, and this is one of those weird Thursdays, right, where you have kind of off the beaten path games, and that's kind of where I went to. I went with Temple, not only with 3/4 of a unit on the plus 4.5, but I took a little sprinkle on the money line there, plus $1.70 at FAU. And also Stony Brook, too. Again, an identical 4.5 spread, plus 158 at Monmouth. Usually this time of year, and we've kind of talked about it, too, where those home favorites are usually the place to go. But I think you got situational spots here for both these clubs that'll end up playing out.
We love a little CAA basketball on a Thursday night. Why not? Jensen, you're awesome. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate you, buddy.
You got it. Talk soon, guys. Thanks.
He and Dave Ross again, each and every weekday morning right here on VSiN By The Books, doing all the great. I love the recaps in the morning, best bets of the day. For 3 hours early in the morning, those guys get it done.
You wake up?
They have more energy than we do here in the afternoon.
Lies.
So true.
That is not
true. It is
true.
so true.
Speak for yourself.
I don't know if anyone has more energy than Dave Ross.
Speak for yourself. I'm energetic all the time. Some would say I carry the show.
You walked in. Some would say you.
Yes, behind
you
the scenes.
are the one who says.
Yeah, behind the scenes. I'm tired, but today I've had a lot of energy.
Very proud of you.
Been rocking and rolling.
On that note, though, what did you think of his breakdown of the Giants?
I'd agree. I think there's some upside here. We talked about the betting the over. They've got the rotation. The question is that lineup going to have some more depth to it? They added to it. And I think that if everybody's going to be healthy there, I think you can get some better production on offense and be one of those teams that pushes for the playoffs.
Okay. We got to step aside here real quickly. When we come back, I'm glad we got a little hockey talk in with Jensen because I do have some thoughts on that Columbus game myself. I stayed off of it for this reason. I'll tell you what it is when we come back. Ooh. More to come here on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Money Moves, this segment sponsored by Upside. Download the free Upside app and earn real cash back every time you fill up your gas tank today. And when you use promo code SPORTS, you get 25 cents back per gallon on your first tank. Rolling along here, Money Moves, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Half hour to go here. And some hockey talk on deck for us. A handful of over games yesterday, albeit not the one I bet, which was a little bit of a killer. We did get the money line home on the Jets.
3-2?
Yeah, in overtime. It was 4-4 going into the third. 2-2 going into the third.
Impossible?
It was impossible. I mean, not impossible, but for the result I'm discussing,
for the result, it seems impossible.
2-2 going into the third and nothing doing. So that was unfortunate to have to go to OT, but got the win for the Jets, at least on the money line there. The Pacific Division, though, we had a little fun. VGK down 2-1 entering the third, score 3 unanswered and 5 in all in the third period to beat the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah, it was tough.
And that's like, I don't want to say an embarrassing loss for the Kings.
Sure.
But it feels that way, right? Like no Mark Stone, no Jack Eichel, no Noah Hannafin, no Shea Theodore. It was like an AHL roster, half the guys out there.
Why wouldn't you want to call it an embarrassing loss? It seems very much like an embarrassing loss for the Los Angeles Kings to give up 6 goals to a team that was playing as shorthanded as Vegas was.
Well, I hope that they do it again, facing an Edmonton Oilers team today.
Dude, that sucks. This whole Pacific thing is absolutely ridiculous. The way the Oilers lose yesterday to the Ducks, to give up 4 goals in the third period to lose 6-5. Come on now.
Yeah, Anaheim's now second in the division.
I know.
So they leapfrog Edmonton and Seattle.
I'm out on these NHL. I'm out on these NHL futures.
Come on.
Can't hit a 1?
So it was 11 games total in Oilers Ducks yesterday. But my general thought today, because I did play the over in Oilers Kings, which actually opened at a flat 6. I did not get in on, unfortunately. I missed the boat on that. So I took the over 6.5 earlier this morning, where you could still get like even money, I think. Mm-hmm. But if that roster was able to put up 6 on you, what are the high-end skill guys of the Edmonton Oilers going to do? So just from a goal-scoring standpoint, I feel like we should get... And I mean, the Kings produced more goals than I anticipated them to do, too. First day for Artemi Panarin, he fit in very seamlessly. So we'll see if we can get the over home in that game a little bit later on. 12-game slate today, so there are a lot. Anything that you wanted to go through?
For today in the NHL, is there anything that Jonathan Von Tobel wanted to go through? Yes, Stormy, there is actually something I wanted to go through. It would be the first game for the Pittsburgh Penguins post Sidney Crosby injury.
You know what's funny about that? Is we have a rundown, right? And you know how you always give me grief for the rundown?
Yep.
I highlighted all the games that I could talk about for you today, and the one game I don't have any interest in was the Devils at Pens. But I can tell you.
You asked me if I was interested.
However, well, see,
here
I thought that we were doing, you know, how like I tee you up on the Ask Jonathan questions for the NBA. I thought that's what we were doing for hockey today. But, you know, if you don't pay attention to the rundown, that's you.
So you're going to tell me that one of the bigger stories post NHL Olympic break.
Oh, I can talk about it. I just don't have a bet on it.
Okay, I don't need a bet. I just wanted this. You asked me what I was interested in.
I would think that the people at home would want to bet, though, right?
Sure.
They are Pittsburgh still minus 162 favorite against
Let's get to it.
Against the Devils. Total here 5.5. I think more so big pick. Devils did play yesterday, by the way, lost 2-1 to the Sabres. A general question I have about today's slate, and this game would accompany that thought process, is, you know how we talk about in the NBA right now, like the games on second half of back-to-back, 3 games in 4 days, whatever it is, there's a rest disparity. A lot of these teams are on the second half of back-to-back today, the Devils included. But I actually wonder if that's a good thing for them coming into today, right? That they got their legs under them the day before after what was such a long layoff.
Sure.
Kind of like what we talk about in the college football playoff. Like, you don't want to have that bye, or at least historically you haven't wanted to have that bye, because the teams that are playing, they get a little bit of confidence. They get actual gameplay under them. Do you think that could be a good thing for some teams today? Those teams in action, I mean, Oilers and Kings, as we already mentioned, but the Devils, the Avs, the Lightning, the Flyers, and the Kraken, all on the second half of back-to-backs today. So could that be an angle potentially?
I think it could be. I mean, especially in this scenario, I do find it surprising that the price is so high, given the loss of your points leader, your star, all that kind of stuff. So I thought a plus 136 maybe was worth looking at. Again, I'm not going to pretend to know the depths of the roster for the New Jersey Devils and where they're at. I do know that yesterday didn't go well, went well for our Sabres, and that's about it. So I think that I would lean a little bit price-wise toward the team that is not missing its best player. Yeah. But you know what game also really interested me? There was an interesting article I read, an opinion piece today in the Toronto Star. But the Maple Leafs.
Did you actually read it?
I did. Read the whole thing.
Okay.
I'm a fan of journalism, capital J. So, even though that's more opinion, and so it's not really like true journalism.
So this is, again, like, it's not a huge like betting angle
Somebody's
thing.
tweeting me right now.
The Leafs have the Panthers today. Leafs played a high-scoring 4-2 loss yesterday against the Lightning. Could have been worse, though. By the way, the Bolts had 2, I think it was 2, maybe more, goals that were ultimately overturned by offside penalties, so it could have been a much worse loss for Toronto yesterday. But the article from the Toronto Star that you're referencing is like a column,
it's an opinion piece,
hit piece essentially on Austin Matthews, and the headline is Austin Matthews made his choice, seemingly putting the party and the president ahead of the playoffs. First of all, I mean, still to be seen as we approach the March 6th deadline, whether or not the Leafs are going to be buyers or sellers or anything. Like, I think they probably should be sellers. I don't think that they're a playoff team this year.
Sell Austin Matthews?
Neither here nor there. No.
Especially after this latest transgression.
After this, like, his transgressions, like, this is crazy. How I highly recommend you go read it. And I know some people will say it's clickbait. Why even bother? Don't waste your time. This is a stupid article, which it is. It's a very stupid article. But it was also hysterical to read. And I did find it interesting. And the fact that, like, I mean, it's all based on politics, and this guy wants to make it seem like it's not. So it's very interesting. As for the game today, third meeting of the season for the Leafs and Panthers. The previous two were Toronto 4-1 wins. Not sure that means anything for me tonight. I didn't have a play in this game. There are a handful of games, though, that I do have investment in. I already mentioned Oilers-Kings. The Red Wings and Senators. So if you listened to the program yesterday, we had Todd Furman on. He gave a ringing endorsement to the Senators, referenced, yes, they are a team that's dead last in the league right now in save percentage, but Linus Ullmark finding his form again before the break after the weird leave of absence thing. So it seems like we've at least moved forward from that.
Maybe.
Said Ottawa, when healthy, he graded them as a top 8 team. I don't know if I want to go that far, but I liked his angle on them either to like make the playoffs or whatever it is. This is kind of a fun matchup today because it's a team who's outside of the playoff picture that has really strong underlying metrics, taking on a team that's in the playoff picture that has really weak underlying metrics. And Ottawa is, I'll admit, like a bigger favorite than I expected to be today, especially considering they did lose to Detroit both meetings in January. But I really agree with the market. I like the Senators in this spot. They do have, I'm glad for the players that were in the gold medal game to have that extra day of rest that are a part of this. One of the breakout stars also of the Olympics for Team Germany was, what's his name? Tim Stützle. So I wanted to make sure that I got the right.
Stützle? Okay.
Stützle. For Ottawa. So if he can have some of maybe that goal-scoring firepower carry over from the Olympics, I think that'll be nice for them. Linus Ullmark historically, head-to-head with the Red Wings for his career, been great. 9-2, .934 save percentage, 2-1-3 goals against. Last season in 3 games, 3-0, 5 goals allowed. And this is a Red Wings team, too, that conversely, where Ottawa was kind of getting stronger before the break, the Red Wings were struggling before the break. They dropped 5 of their last 7, could not score, just 7 total goals their last 5 games. And actually, yesterday, because when the Sabres beat the Devils, this will be good for you. Because didn't you end up betting them like not to make the playoffs? They fell into the wild card yesterday despite not playing because of that win. Okay. So if they continue to falter, that could be good for you. But I like Ottawa in regulation specifically today, so we could bring down that -155 to a cheaper, more palatable price. I think they get it done in regulation, -105 the price there.
All right, we're firing. Let me see. I was thinking also, this Flames-Sharks matchup is pretty interesting, too. Don't you agree?
I do think that. What a coincidence. This is another game, though, where I thought that the Sharks would be slightly bigger favorites. -128, -130 is kind of the prevailing number. Superbook here in Vegas was a little bit off market when I bet it earlier this morning, -116. I am on the Sharks, though, on the money line. They lost a back-and-forth game with the Flames before the break, 3-2. Not the Sharks' best hockey the last couple games, before the break. But I think they win here. They're the better team at home. The Flames are really bad on the road, 8-19 this season on the road. The lone game that Calgary did come to San Jose won 6-3. They are, Calgary that is, the lowest scoring team in the NHL, and one of their better goal scorers is done for the season in Jonathan Huberdeau. I think Macklin Celebrini showed throughout the course of the Olympics that even at 19 years old, he is one of the absolute stars of this league. And if he too, like looking at some of these guys who I think could have a little bit of carryover, I think he could have a good day. Leading the division, leading a team that's fighting for a wild card in the division and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I think that this is a good opportunity for them to take advantage in an important division game. I do have a prop in this game as well. And Todd Cordell at Covers had some really good numbers on Nazem Kadri for this matchup that enticed me. So I followed him on this one for the over 2.5 shots on goal. He's averaged 4.3 shots on goal, 1.2 points over his 14 meetings with San Jose, had at least 3 in 9 of the last 10, and at least 6 shot attempts in all of them, including obviously this most recent game where they won 3-2. Sharks last 10 games prior to the break also giving up the second most shots on goal to center. So we should have opportunity for volume. -125, so there is slight juice on it, but I think that's worth a look too. I'll re-hit these and hit on a couple more bets that I do have in the NHL coming up next. JVT's got plenty of best bets in the National Basketball Association as well. So stick around. We're going to close things out with all of our firm official plays of the day.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
There's no reason to pay full price at the pump anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Get the free Upside app. It gives you real cash back every time you buy gas. Download Upside today and start earning on everyday fill-ups. Plus, if you use promo code SPORTS, you'll get 25 cents back per gallon on your first tank. Upside users are earning hundreds of dollars a year just by driving like they normally do. Cash out whenever you want. Go straight to your bank account or popular gift cards like Amazon. Get started now with the free Upside app. Again, promo code SPORTS. Offers vary by user and location. See upside.com for details. Back here on Money Moves, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. And also, I feel bad. I teased this game last segment, the Blue Jackets and Bruins, coming off of our conversation with Jensen, and we didn't get a chance to get to it. But one thing I did want to say on that game, because I really did like and agree with a lot of Jensen's handicap about that game. He played the Blue Jackets on the money line today in Boston. Everything that Rick Bowness has done to transformed that team in the short amount of time he had them, going 10-1 since he took over. You have the opportunity to reset at the break, which could help or hinder you. You're right, like a hot team that has an abrupt stop. But reading some of the comments that have been coming out of Columbus and him wanting to use these last 6 practices in particular as kind of like a mini training camp to reinstall some things. Defensively, they go from allowing 3.38 goals per game to 2.18 in the 11 games since he took over, which included back-to-back shutouts against New Jersey and Chicago, ending the break, which I know are lesser than teams, but still to be able to have that in your back pocket. The reason I stayed off of this game, however, is just how good Boston is at home. They have the second best home ice record in the entire National Hockey League, behind only the Colorado Avalanche. And so that was something that for me, just coming out of a break, I figured this is just more of a stay away game. In my opinion, 21-8-1 on home ice. Just something that I was like, okay, I liked all these things about Columbus. I like them in the big picture. I like the -130 even for them to continue this push and make the playoffs, all of those things. But tonight, I wasn't sure. So I stayed off of it.
Okay, so I hope you're wrong.
Yeah, I hope Jensen cashes a ticket for sure. It was just a game that I stayed off of, and because I teased why I did, I wanted to make sure that I got that out there. On that note, let's get to the best bets. We got to recap what happened yesterday before we look ahead to today. How'd you do?
Thunder plus 10.5. Hold on. So we get the win there in the National Basketball Association. And that was all she wrote in the NBA. So stay inside of the number against the Detroit Pistons. We will see if we can carry over that momentum today.
Okay, beautiful. As for me, 1-1 on the hockey. Did not get there on the over 6. We mentioned that last segment. It was 2-2 going into the third, but ended up being a 3-2 win for the Jets, which at least cashed my money line play. So a short loser with 2 -120 plus prices on that standpoint. Let's look ahead to today, though. You've got a lot of NBA on the card.
Yes, not as much as you have just in general here, but we'll start 76ers -1.5 today against the Indiana Pacers. Talked about this quite a bit. Joel Embiid is going to be out there. The numbers with Embiid have been very, very strong with the Philadelphia 76ers. His last 11 starts have been very strong, averaging over 32.5 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists on 54% shooting from the floor. They were 13-6 against the spread in his last 19 starts, coinciding with the way that he has been playing. I think that they are going to be, and I think I said the Pacers, that was his last start. They are taking on the Heat today. So we're laying 1.5 against the Miami Heat. Heat have played well. They've covered 9 out of the last 14 games, but some of the noise around those numbers, 30-plus point wins over Utah, Chicago, and Washington, probably clouding the data of this recent stretch. Do think that Philly is the better team with Embiid. The number says they are not, and I will disagree with that. So 76ers minus 1.5. Magic plus 2.5 against the Houston Rockets. Also on the card today. Disagreement with where the market's going. Some spots up to 3. Second leg of back-to-back, third game in 4 nights for the Houston Rockets. Not the best scheduling spot. One spot up to 3.5 right now that I'm looking at for Houston. I'll push back on that. They didn't play the best of competition. It was Utah and it was Sacramento. But do think this negative scheduling spot, the fact that Orlando's playing well defensively over the last month and are back at home here, do think it's a good enough spot to come in and back them. And late it earlier today, we talked about this on Harvard Handicappers, minus 4.5 for the Los Angeles Lakers. This is one that is upwards of 6 now for LA. Good bounce back spot against a beat up Phoenix Suns team, which is slipping down the standings. No Devin Booker, no Dylan Brooks among the others that are missing. And last, but certainly not least, let's do it for funsies. A 4-team money line parlay. We'll play against some of the tankers. Hornets, Spurs, Hawks, Pelicans. Moneyline parlay pays out the plus 127.
I love it. I didn't make my parlay an official play, but for funsies, mine was Hornets, Spurs, Blazers, and Mavericks. So that's the ugly one. That's what I threw together. Pays about plus 178 in that range. I do have an official play in the NBA today with the Trailblazers laying 3.5 at the Bulls. I know this is out to 4.5 most places now. I still think that's worthwhile to do. I bet against the Bulls a couple of times now throughout this ugly stretch for them that has been profitable. 0-10 straight up their last 10 since February. Longest losing streak for the franchise since 2018-19. 1-13 their last 14. 2-12 also ATS in that span. So not only have they been losing games, they haven't been covering numbers, and a lot of these numbers have been larger too, like in the 7.5 and upwards range. So getting a shorter price here. Portland, I know, got waxed by Denver the other day, but covered 3 of their last 4, won 5 of the last 8 straight up, and in all of those wins by more than this margin. So hopefully they can do it again, and that's my one play in the NBA aside from that little for fun parlay. We talked about a couple of these last segment, but to rehash a little bit, the Sharks minus 116 against the Flames. Calgary, who's been terrible on the road, 8-19 this season. They're the lowest scoring team in the league, lost one of their goal scorers for the season as well. So hopefully they can get it done for me in this spot in an important game for obviously trying to make a push for a wild card. Nazem Kadri also in that game for the Flames, over 2.5 shots on goal. Sharks last 10 games before the break, giving up the second most shots on goals to center. He's had great history being able to get over this number, including the most recent matchup. So see if he can do it again for us. The Senators, minus 105 on the 60-minute regulation line against the Red Wings. Brought this down from the minus 155 for just the standard money line price. See if they can get it done with regulation. Olmark, his history against the Red Wings has been awesome. Again, I told you 9-2, last 3 games, 3-0, 5 total goals scored against him in that time. And the Red Wings are a team that's struggling and has some poor underlying metrics. The Oilers Kings over 6.5. I got this at even money. There is some slight juice on that as well. Both Oilers and Kings a part of high scoring games we saw last night. I think we should get more of the same today, especially on the Oilers side, knowing the high-end talent that they have and what the Kings were unable to do against lesser-than competition, to say the least, against the Vegas Golden Knights, who were without all of their best players. And the Kings actually had some more goal-scoring production yesterday than I anticipated them to have. We know one of their major weaknesses is on the defensive back end. So over 6.5 there, and then one more over in the Avalanche and Wild game tonight, over 6.5.
Wow.
2 of the best offenses in the league. Last 20 games for Minnesota, 18 overs. So I think that we get a high-scoring affair in that one as well. Nathan McKinnon is expected to be back for the Avs today. The first period over was also something that I looked at, did not make an official play, but did want to at least get this information out there because this is something that prior to the break was very profitable for us on the show. Minnesota, an 11-game run to the first period over, 14 of their last 16. There were no goals in the first period yesterday when Colorado did play, but now maybe got their legs about them a little bit more here in Game 2.
Like it.
I told you, I feel uncomfortable how many things I bet today.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got to spray the board. It'll come home, I believe.
No, I talked yesterday about okay, I'm going to tread lightly here this first day back from the Olympic break. And then today I was just going through the card. And maybe it's like a product of there being 12 games today that there were just so many angles I liked. So we'll see how it plays out.
You got to do it. Believe.
We'll see how it goes. Happy anniversary to your favorite bowling quote of all time.
Oh, who do you think you are? I am? We can't play that, huh? That's disappointing.
I don't think we're allowed to.
Yeah, even though it's an old
Television
broadcast.
rights.
As I said the other day, I met him in person when I was working at Starbucks. He was a total D, and it was absolutely fantastic.
Unfortunately, he was not a part of it, but I did this, what's it called? It was called the World Games a few years back, and it's basically like...
Pete Weber, by the way. I should say the name.
It's basically it's like the Olympics, but it's a bunch of these events that either couldn't get into the Olympics or used to be Olympic sports and aren't anymore, or trial events to get into the Olympics. No, cornhole is not in there. Don't give me shade on things I broadcast before. You got to work your way up.
Careful.
That said,
you were going to say something else.
Bowling was one of them. And it was actually crazy to see how many of these, they just throw a strike without thinking about it. It's ridiculous.
I don't mean to insult any people on the way out here, but I will say I generally can find enjoyment in many things where it's very hard to find it.
You don't like bowling?
I think bowling.
Oh my gosh, you're such a loser.
Let me finish.
No.
Let me finish. Okay. I think bowling absolutely, unequivocally, with no single doubt in my mind, sucks. I do not find it fun to play. I don't find it entertaining.
Objectively wrong.
It is so boring. It is terrible.
I think it's probably, if you're watching people that aren't any good, a boring spectator sport, but boring to play, that's an asinine statement.
No, absolutely.
Bowling is boring to play.
I'm just counting my time until those frames run out, and I enjoy most when the funny, stupid animations happen. Outside of that, I'm out.
You are a fun sucker.
I mean, I don't think
you don't
that's
enjoy
true at all.
No.
If we were to take a poll of people in the room, I think that I would be right.
I think everyone would like bowling. Normal people like bowling.
Justin will be the arbiter. Justin, bowling, good or bad?
One thing I will say though is
it's all right. Thank you.
I had to get my own ball. I had to get my own ball because I couldn't play more than 3 games without my frail fingers getting sore. So I have my own official bowling ball. 13-pounder. Let's go. Okay, that's a wrap for us today. See you back tomorrow, same time, same place. Follow the Money's coming up next.